today's topic is getter and setters in LWC, slots, and CSS. So we are going to start with getters and setters. I hope you are all from technical background, like so you have done programming. So in Apex or in any other programming languages like Java or C Sharp, we have a concept of getter and setter functions. Even in Visual Force, we have concept of getter and setter functions. So with the name, it is clear. Getter function is used to you can say return data from controller to you can say markup or to HTML. So in second session, I have told you about data binding. So if you remember, we were declaring a property and we were binding property with the help of binding expression, just flower brackets. So similarly, you can use getter function also to return the value of this property. What you can do, you can write a function prefixed with get keyword, and here you can give uh, function name. Suppose I'm giving function name, and instead of binding property directly on the UI, what we are doing, we are going to return the value of this property, return as name, and whenever you bind this function on UI, it is going to return the value of this property. So what is the purpose of getter function? Like if you are binding property directly, but there is a use case when you want to do some manipulation on the property, like you want to convert property value into uppercase, or if you want to do some manipulations. So before binding the property on the UI, you can do those manipulations, and after manipulations you can return the value of that property using getter function. So this is the way to declare a getter function. Get name of the function and return the property whose value you want to return property value. And one more utility of getter function is, suppose we are having array of employee names, Swati, Isha, suppose Lata. So if I want to view all these names, we have for each iterator, or we need loop to iterate on this array. But we cannot get single employee name. Suppose I want to retrieve Isha's name. So I cannot do, because compound expressions are not supported in LWC. Compound expressions are not supported. So that means on UI, suppose I want to see the value of Isha, I want to display Isha, so I cannot write like this. I cannot write, it is not supported. So if you want to return a specific value of array, what you can do, you can again use a getter function, and again you can give any name, and here you can return employee names 1. So getter function can return you value as per the index you specify. As per the index value you will specify, it will retrieve that particular value from the array. So these are the some utilities where you can use getter function when you want to do some manipulation related to a property. When you want to return a specific index value of an array, you can go with getter function. And one more scenario is that in last session you have seen that we have developed a calculator. So but when you were performing calculation, what you were doing, you were calling the function on button click. But suppose I want to perform calculation, and I don't want to invoke that calculation function on button click. I want that whenever text value is getting changed, we will receive value also, and we will return the calculated value also. So in that case, there is no need to fire action functions. What you can do, you can use getter function, you can retrieve the value of the text boxes, and just you can perform calculation, because now you can do manipulations on the properties in the getter function, and then you can return the value on the UI. What I'm trying to say, let me show you with code. So if you see, don't go with set as for now. So this is my property, uppercase item name, and I'm this is the way to return the value from the getter function. So getter function will always have return type. And if you see, there is an array, And if you want to return a specific index, what you can do, you can just return like this. Employee codes, compound expressions you can give in getter functions, but directly you cannot bind it on the markup. And one more thing, let me open this component first of all for you, and then I will show you. Let me try it out with my local server. So getter and setter component. So if you see specific value is returned employee 03. Now, if you see I'm entering the value, and once both the text boxes will receive value, sum is getting calculated. So there is no need to write separate action function which is going to perform calculation. Then you will need a property in which you will store the calculated result, and then you will bind that property on the UI. But in this case, what I'm doing, this is HTML for this. So there are two text boxes, and we have written same handler, handle change. So as soon as value will be changed in the text box 1 or value will be changed in the text box 2, same function will be called handle change. And if you see handle change, what we are doing in handle change, again we are checking for the name. I have told you in previous session that whenever you want to capture any activity related to any input component, you can do with event.target. So I'm checking for the name. If name of the text box is input 1, we are capturing the value of that text box and we are storing it in a property first number. Similarly, we are doing for input 2. If text box name is input 2, we are capturing the value of that text box and we are storing it in a property second number. Now I'm not writing any action function. Action function means without get keyword, they needs to be invoked on any event. So what I'm doing, I'm writing a getter function. So just what we are checking, if first name and second name both have proper values, then what we are returning just plus. So getter function we are using to perform calculation. Getter function we are going to bind directly on the UI. There is no need to explicitly call it on the events. So that is again one more utility of getter function. So in real scenarios, we will find lots of utility of getter function. Suppose you are capturing the values from a pick list field of any object, and now you want to display those pick list fields in a combo box. So in that case, you can write a getter function on JS controller and you can bind that getter function on the options of your combo box. So whenever you want to return any data from controller to UI, you can go with getter function. So syntax you have to remember, get keyword you have to use, function name, and you have to return the value which you want to bind on the UI. So that is the all purpose of getter function. But yes, what setter function is going to do? So a setter function, we don't find much utility of setter function in real scenarios, but yes, you should know what is setter function. So whenever any property, whenever we set any value in a property, internally there are two functions which are called getter and setter. So getter basically return the value of the property, and setter function basically set the value in that property. So here if you see, get and set function name will be same. So here you have to remember one thing, that get and set function name should be same. Get and set function name should be same. If you are writing setter function for any property, if you are writing setter function, getter function is mandatory, because just setter will not work now. If you are writing setter, it will just do some manipulations, but after manipulation you have to showcase those values on the UI, so you need getter also. So if you are writing setter function, getter function is also required, but it is but vice versa, it's not there. Like if you are writing getter function, setter function is not mandatory. But if you are writing getter function, setter function is not mandatory. So if you see here, what we are doing, we are declaring a property whose value I am returning from getter function, and before returning that value, what setter function is doing, setter function is converting that value into uppercase. So setter function will always receive a parameter or value type. Value means that whatever value you will set in this uppercase item name, that value will be converted into uppercase, and after that you are setting that value in uppercase item name property, and getter function is returning the value of that property. So this uppercase item, in this uppercase item name value, I am passing value in, if you see, connected callback. So now connected callback is a function which comes in the lifecycle hook of LWC. Connected callback function will be called automatically as soon as you can say component UI is loaded on the browser. So as soon as I have written, logic will execute as soon as component will load in browser. So as soon as component will load in browser, what you are doing, you are not setting the value in the property, you are setting the value like with in the getter and setter, because you have written setter. So if you have written setter, you will set value in the setter function. You are setting hello, so this value will pass over here in value, and it will convert it into uppercase, and this value will be set in the property uppercase item name, and whatever value will be set in the property, that value we are returning with the help of getter function. And what will be the output? Output will be my name is, and the value hello will be converted into uppercase. If you see output, the value of hello is converted into uppercase. So we are going to set value basically in the not in the property directly, we are going to set value in the setter. So this is means we are calling setter. This means we are calling setter, and when you are calling setter, you are passing value, so that value will be declared in a value attribute, and this value we are converting into uppercase, and we are setting it in a property. So after setting, we have to showcase that value. So for that we are writing getter. So setter name and getter name should be fixed. Getter function will be like without parameter. Setter function is required to set parameter in the setter function, and the parameter is fixed. You have to specify value keyword. So whatever value you are passing here, that means we are calling setter, and this value will be passed over here, and this value is getting converted into uppercase, and whatever manipulation you will do, you can set it into property, and that property value you can return from getter function. So that is the role of getter and setters. So setter basically do manipulation sort of thing, and getter function will return the value of the properties in which you have done that manipulation. So that is the role of getter and setter. But yes, if you Google out, you will find maximum utilities with getter function. A setter function is hardly required as such. So that is about getter and setters in LWC. Next, before moving to slots, we will discuss CSS. So what is CSS? CSS is, we all know what is CSS. CSS cascaded style sheets. So either what you can do, whenever you want to add some style, I can open any component, or rather I should create one more component for you. So see, this is suppose HTML. So first way to add style is that we can add style directly in the elements. There is no need to remember CSS properties. You can go and you can check for CSS properties in you can say your w3schools.com. There you can find the list of CSS properties. This is the first way. You can, so if you go back okay, so I will preview again from here. So either you can add a style directly using style attribute. Every HTML element is having style attribute. So whenever you make changes, I want to change color. It's very light, so I want to change color to blue violet. If you want to set multiple properties, those properties are you can set, and you can distinguish those properties or differentiate those properties with the help of semicolon. So CSS is always used to add styling in HTML element. These are all CSS properties. Color is used to set font color, background hyphen color is used to set background color. So this is called inline styling. Inline styling. Inline styling. So if you see, background color is that blanched almond sort of, and this is font color. So either you can add style directly on the HTML element. Otherwise, if you see in component bundle, this is component bundle. Right now we have only 3 files: HTML, JS, and metadata file. If you want to add a CSS file over here, you can add CSS file over here. Just right click on your component and just click on new file. Give same name, whatever name your component is having. My component name is CSS component dot CSS. So this is the CSS file, and here you can add styling. Suppose I want to add styling for paragraph. So I want to add styling for paragraph. See, there are lots of CSS properties. Background color, I want to set some font size. Font size I am giving me larger. We have you can say font color. Color I want to give, suppose there are lots of color options. Chart reuse. So this is the styling I have added for paragraph. So whenever in your HTML there is a paragraph tag, so whenever in your HTML paragraph tag is there, paragraph element is there, that particular style which you have added in that CSS file, that will implement over here. We will work together. So suppose one more style I will show you. Here we have one more style, text transform. So I'm giving uppercase. So text transform uppercase is again a property which will convert first letter of every not first letter, it will convert complete sentence into uppercase. But we have one more, capitalize. So what capitalize will do, it will convert first alphabet of every word into uppercase. If you see, so lots of CSS properties we are having. If you see, every word of first every letter of first word is converted into capital uppercase. So if you want to see all the CSS properties, just you can visit w3schools.com. So here you can find the list of CSS properties, and you can explore whatever CSS property you want. You can go and you can explore accordingly. So all properties are given: padding, box model, text, fonts, CSS backgrounds. You can say. So now one more thing I want to tell you, that I have told you. So ID selector, I have told you that IDs we never pass directly IDs in this markup. But suppose there are two paragraph tags. Trailhead community. So suppose there are two paragraph tags and I want to give them separate style. So I will not go with ID, because ID selector, if you have explored CSS, we have concept of ID selectors in CSS. ID selector means that you can give ID to any element. Suppose I am giving ID to this element, and I am giving ID to this element also. Sorry. If you want to add separate style for these two components, initially in HTML, what we will do, we will write two ID selectors. So whenever you have to use ID selector, you have to give hash p1. So this style will only implement it to that element whose ID is p1, and this style will only implement it to that element whose you can say who's having ID p2. But if you if you do this type of stuff, you will get error, because ID selectors are not supported in LWC. So if you want to do this type of stuff, so instead of giving ID selector, what you can do, you can give classes. class selector we can use. ID selector is not supported in LWC. We can go with class selectors. And whenever you write class selector, instead of giving hash, you will go with dot. Dot. So that means this style will only implement to that element who is having class P1 and P2. So again, I'm repeating, ID selectors are not supported. We have to go with class selectors. So these are class selector. This is the way to write CSS for different elements using class selector dot P1 dot P2. So suppose there is one div. So this class, it's not that you can apply this class to a particular element. You can add div also. So this class you can apply to multiple elements also. So if you see paragraph, see same style we are having on paragraph and div. So class selectors are supported, ID selectors are not supported. Class selectors are supported. So CSS file will not come automatically. Just right click on your component folder and just add this file with extension .css. So this is the second way. Third way is you can use SLDS. Salesforce Lightning Design System. So this is a complete website developed by Salesforce from where you can inherit stylings. So SLDS, this is Lightning Design System. So what Salesforce says that there is no need to write a custom CSS. You can go and you can use CSS from here. So current release is Spring 22 and SLDS version is 2.17.5. So if you see, you will get some inbuilt utilities. If you see utilities, suppose I want border. So if you click over here, so suppose in my div I want top border. So just what I have to do, I have to copy this class from here and I can add this class in my div. So just I'm removing all this stuff. Just I want to show you div only. So if you see, my div will have top border. See top border. So lots of stylings they have written for us. Suppose if you want box sort of thing. So you can also add a color theme. So if you want a box sort of thing, again, what you have to do, you have to copy this class. You can add multiple classes also. Separate by comma, you can add multiple classes also. So class SLDX box. So this they will inherit style from SLDS. So if you see, Salesforce community will come in box now. Box. So same if you want layout, if you want something like grid. So if you see here, so see lots of stylings are there. So right now we have two divs. So there are some stylings added over here. If you see, and content you can change if you want this type of structure. If you want lightning card is also very important. You can say container for grouping of data. So see, for lightning card also they have added lots of, you can say, stylings. Lightning card. So stylings are already written. If you see show code, styling is already written. So instead of writing custom styling, you can say for text also we have style. For text on backgrounds, we have lots of styles written. So it depends on your requirement. What type of, you can say, if you want gradient sort of thing in background images are there. So lots of styling elements are there. You can go and you can use them. So see, this type of structure if you want. So SLDS is very powerful in terms of styling. So just go and explore it. But I have told you the way. Whatever styling you want to add, just add that particular class on your element. Khyati, just excuse me for 1 second, okay? For 1 minute.
Sure, no worries. Meanwhile, if you guys have any questions, you can ping in the chat so that our speaker would be really happy to take them all.
Okay, so I'm back. Yes, so for adding SLDS, you don't need to do anything extra. Just you have to add that particular class whose style whatever style you want to add. So even you can import external CSS also, but that is not at all recommended as such. Yes, but if you want, you can do. You have to import it in static resource, and just you have to add reference of your external CSS in your HTML. That's all. Otherwise, what Salesforce recommends that when I'm writing styling for you in SLDS, so here, so SLDS will provide all the, you can say, SLDS is providing you all the styling. If you want model sort of thing, something display messaging and other content in a layer above the app, so you can go, you can download you can say SketchKit also, and um, you can use as per your projects and wherever it's required. Okay. So icons, for icons also, if you see, if you want something if you want icon sort of thing, so standard icons are there, action icons are there. If you see, suppose if you are developing a component for deleting a record, so you can use this icon. How to use this type of icon? Suppose I'm adding here lightning card, title, delete, record, and here I am giving icon name. So icon I'm taking from SLDS, icon colon, what is the name of icon? Delete. If it is standard icon, then you will action colon delete, sorry. If it is standard icon, you will give standard colon icon name. But this is action icon na? So what this is action icon, action. So I'm giving action colon name of your link, name of your icon, delete. So likewise, you can use icons also, standard icons which are already available on your SLDS. So see, so this icon, this is lightning card, and just what you have to do, you can add a button over here which will delete record for you. The logic behind that you can write, right? Lightning button, label, click to delete record. Just an example of action icons. Like this. So this is my lightning card. So on lightning card also you can add lots of styling. So all those stylings you can just get it from SLDS. So this is example of action icon. Suppose if you want standard type of icon, if you want custom type of icon, if you want this type of icon, so what you can do, custom colon custom 22, because this is custom icon. So custom colon custom 22. If you want to use standard icon, standard colon whatever icon name you want to use, you can use. There is one more, suppose standard colon account or standard colon contact. So you can use as per your requirement. You can go. So for CSS, you can explore w3schools.com. You can use SLDS. It depends. But so see, this icon has changed. So that is CSS. But yes, Salesforce recommends SLDS. Salesforce recommends SLDS. Okay, so now very important topic and very you can say new topic in LWC slots. So slots for let me read a description of slots for you. What is slot? Slot is like a template. Slots is like a template. What we mean by slot? Suppose I want a same structure for a multiple components. Okay, I want to have same structure for multiple components. So instead of creating a template sort of thing multiple times, what we can do, we can go with slots. So slots are like a template. Slots are like templates. So you will create different sections. Suppose you are creating header, body, footer. So these are basically sections, and the data or the markup in these sections will be passed by the other component. So basically here concept will come of child component and parent component. So child component will have slots, and parent component will pass markup in those slots. So markup will not be passed by child it will just create a template with no markup. Markup will be passed by parent component according to according to its requirement. So who will be child component and who will be parent component? So in LWC there is a component, you can say containment hierarchy. Even in Aura also we have containment hierarchy. What is containment hierarchy? Containment hierarchy is one component inside another. So child component is that component. Child component is the called component, and parent component is the component who is calling that component. All the slots you are creating in child component, but who will pass markup? Markup will be passed by parent component. So how to call child component inside parent component? That I will show you, but let me show you child component first. So this is my slot child. I will show you. This is my slot child component. So if you see slot child component HTML, what I'm doing over here, I'm not adding style as such. I'm creating three. I'm creating three slots over here. Slots can be named or slots can be unnamed. There are two types of slots: named slot and unnamed slot. So named slot in which you are giving name, like suppose here you have given name heading, here you have given name contact info, here you have given name component info, component name, and third slot is without name. So it depends on you whether you want to create a name slot or whether you create a unnamed slot. What is the difference between both of them? That you will see in parent component. So this slot I have created for heading. That means whenever I will use this slot in parent component, this will serve as a heading. And whenever you will call this slot contact info, so this slot will behave as a contact information slot. That means whatever data you will pass in this slot, that will behave as a contact information slot. And this fourth slot, so whatever data you will pass in this slot, that will behave as a component name. And rest of the data whatever you pass in this component, that will go into unnamed slot. So if you want to pass data as per named, as per names, then you will give names to the slots, And if you want to keep a slot which is like others means whatever data is left in that component, that will go to unnamed slot. So these are 4 slots: heading, contact info. First of all, heading will come, then contact info will come, then there will be unnamed slot, and fourth will be component name. So whatever data will be left beyond this heading and contact info and component name, that will automatically go to data will rest of data will go to unnamed slot. So now, what is the name of my component? My component name is slot child component. So now this is basically a template. In this component, we are not going to do any manipulations, nothing. This is a template component. This is like a structure component only. It is not a manipulative sort of component. So now how you will pass data in this slot? This data will be passed by parent component. So this is parent component. So now let me show you output of this component first. And then, so this same slots I'm using in 3 ways. See, so this is the first. Nick's developer is coming in green, Cristiano Ronaldo is coming in blanched almond, Lionel Messi is coming in black. And if you see, website addresses are also coming in different colors. And this is the slot name for Nick's developer. This is a slot without name for Cristiano Ronaldo. This is a slot without name for Lionel Messi. And this is the just an the name is coming contact.html contact. So see, the same slot but render in 3 different ways. So if you see, this is my parent component. I have added one lightning card, I have added one div, and this is the way to refer one component inside another component. So C hyphen name of the component is slot child hyphen component. So this is basically called kebab case. So C means C is a namespace hyphen name of the component slot child, and then you will separate with hyphens hyphen component name. So if you see, uh, sorry, if you see here, I have taken h2 tag and slot equals to heading. So that means whatever data I will render in this h2 tag, that will render into the heading slot. Whatever data I will enter in the contact info, that will go to the slot contact info. So and whatever data I will write in component name, that will go into the slot contact name. And now rest of the data is paragraph tag, so that will automatically go to unnamed slot, and unnamed slot is existing at the in the third place. Okay, so automatically if okay, suppose I am writing here, I have written div here. So div is again an extra element which is not coming inside any other slot, so that will again go to unnamed slot. If you see output, div is again coming in unnamed slot, and after that this so this is your heading slot, this is your contact info slot, this is the slot without name, and this is the slot with the name component name. So sequence is decided: header will come, contact info will come, a slot without name will come. So whatever data will be there in parent component, so I have written div after this. If you see, I have written div after this slot, but again this will automatically come into unnamed slot. So if you are not passing any data inside a slot, that will automatically consider, or that will automatically come inside the unnamed slot. So you are drafting template only once, you are drafting structure only once, but you are rendering that draft in a different way. In this you have given different class to header, you have given different color, here you have given different color. So styling you can vary on the parent component, but sequence but structure will remain over there. But if you want to fix some colors also, then in that case you can fix colors in the slots also. Here also you can add stylings. If you want to fix some styling, that also you can do in slots, but here I am not fixing styling again, flexibility I'm giving to parent component. So this is the way to nest. So I'm nesting child component 3 times with different stylings, because we am using the concept of slots. So slots basically makes your component, lightning component, reusable. So you can follow this link. this one. So same example I have also taken. Huh. So what are the purpose of slot? Slot is a basically placeholder for markup. Only the slots are created in child component to use one child component in multiple ways and to make it more reusable and dynamic. So that is the purpose of slots. So to create a dynamic sections where we can pass markup dynamically. We are not fixing the markup. Markup can be passed dynamically, but yes, structure will be fixed, which you are fixing in the child component. So that's all about getter and setter functions, CSS, and how to use slots in LWC.
Thank you so much, Swati, for such an insightful session. We do have few questions for you. The first is, if we define styling in both slot and the parent component using it, which one would be applied?
Slots will override the parent one.
Okay.
Slots will override.
Okay. If we want to use any external CSS file, then how we can import that file from any component?
In Aura, it's by lightning colon required, but for LWC, I have to check. You can try it out this one also, but if it is not working, then I have to check for LWC. But in Aura, we are using this lightning colon required and the name of the file which you want to import. But yes, first of all, you have to import it into static resource.
Okay. Thank you so much, Swati, again for such an insightful session. I will wait for a minute if there are any questions, or we can then close the session. Okay, the setter function should always receive parameter value, or we could use any other keyboard also.
No, always value.
This one.
Huh.
If I want to give different style to different slots, so is it
Yes, it's possible. So in that case, we will not fix styling on the slots itself in child component. Like I was rendering a Knicks in different color. I was rendering Cristiano Ronaldo in different color. So in that case, styling will also be passed by parent component.
I think we are done with the questions. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for being here on a Sunday afternoon. Thank you, Swati, again for the session.